Hello, I'm your host, Dr. Pamela Stoodley, welcoming you to The Beating Mind, a show where we address all those thoughts that either occupy our attention or are a cause for distraction. Today, I want to take you on a journey to mindfulness. What it is, what can we gain from it, and how do we go about it? So let me first start with a little story. A story about my journey. As a young child, growing up into my teenage years, I was often known to have had a bit of a temper. Friends in school wrote messages in my scrapbook to say what a loyal and helpful friend I was, and showered me with a plethora of praises. However, most would end it with, "Best not to cross you," or "I'd hate to be on your bad side," etc., etc. Now at the time, don't ask me why, but I looked at it as a compliment. I felt, oh, people are intimidated by me. They actually have to watch what they say lest I get angry. They are mindful in my presence. This I thought with a certain sense of pride. Fast forward to when I was about 21, my father, who doesn't often say too much, told me something that stuck with me. He said, "Pam, no matter how intelligent and accomplished a doctor you would be, you would never be able to win the hearts of your patients if you didn't do something about your anger." And in that very moment, I had a sudden realization. I felt like I had been living my whole life without actually paying attention to it. So I decided to go on a journey to discover the means and methods of changing the way I perceived things, of how I perceived people, how I perceived life. I started with the practice of yoga and learned the art of meditation. It was quite an eye-opener to discover things about myself that I either subconsciously knew but was in denial about, or was totally oblivious to it. Yoga and meditation helped me a great deal with an understanding of how to be in control of my emotions to a certain extent. But along the way, I stumbled onto this theory of mindfulness. And ever since, it's as if my present-day life has been completely disconnected from the naive youth that I once was. Looking back at it with a smile and replaying all my actions, interactions, and reactions since as far back in my childhood as I could go, I began to not only understand myself, but also see why others would say, do, or behave the way they did. I replayed the events as if I were having an out-of-body experience, in my mind's eye, of course. Traveled back to the time of the event and watched my younger self interacting with those people. I watched the emotions on the faces of everyone involved, the precursors to the tempers that would ensue, the hurtful words that followed, the sadness or animosity that almost inadvertently followed after a heated exchange. I began to see how, back then, in my mind, I felt and knew I was doing the right thing. But so did they. It's almost as if I knew what they were thinking, feeling, and why they were doing what they did during that event. And this discovery blew my mind in so many ways that I almost yearned to turn back time to re-experience those moments, armed with the knowledge I now had. But of course, life isn't a time machine, and hindsight is a beautiful thing. However, what I am describing here isn't hindsight. Sure, sometimes we look back on events and have regrets or wish that things played out differently. But that doesn't mean that in the future we wouldn't repeat those very actions. This is because your hindsight is like a fogged up mirror, which when you turn back to look at, the fog lifts and shows you your past. And you either look at it from a different perspective and say to yourself, yeah, things could have been different. Or at times, it reaffirms what you did, said, and even felt was indeed valid and justified. Mindfulness, however, is different. One definition of mindfulness is described as maintaining a moment-by-moment awareness of our thoughts, feelings, bodily sensations, and surrounding environment through a gentle, nurturing lens. It is the basic human ability to be fully present, aware of where we are and what we are doing, so we are not overly reactive or overwhelmed by what's going on around us. Mindfulness is this innate quality all humans already possess. It does not require to have a vivid imagination, or for that matter, any imagination at all. All you need to do is learn how to tap into it. So if this is what we all possess, then why am I dedicating an entire podcast talking about it, right? Because believe it or not, like willpower, we all have it. But do we all use it is really the question of the hour. In the next episode, you will hear me using analogies like food and hunger, diet, etc. to describe mindfulness. But a word of caution. I will be describing mindfulness in the sense of what it meant for me when I first started. Mindfulness with a twist. The way I personally interpreted it, how I personally used it, and how it benefited me and continues to do so. So join me on my next episode, where I take you on a continued journey to mindfulness. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and leave us a comment about your thoughts. You can also share this episode with anyone you think would benefit from hearing it. Thank you for listening, and until next time, I'd like to leave you with this thought. Mindfulness is a way of befriending ourselves and our experience. The best way to capture moments, therefore, is to pay attention.